Greetings internet peopleoids, Darkly Dave here, and welcome to my Witchy Tag. I hope this isn't a carbon copy of something else. I did write it all down myself, so first questions first. What sort of witch are you? Now personally, I'm eclectic to say the least. I don't really hold with any particular school of witchcraft, and whilst I was introduced in part by Wicca, I'm certainly no Wiccan, and don't hold with the threefold law. I don't follow any particular pantheon, although I do take Kernanos as my patron. How did you first encounter witchcraft? My family is quite witchy to begin with, but I grew up with the fairies book and gnomes and such forth, and the book Things That Never Were. But one particular book I did grow up with was Erica Young's, or Jong, however it's pronounced, Witches. Now this book's 80s or 70s, but it's full of all sorts of stories, theories, practices, poems, talks a lot about tools, and such forth. This is not a Wiccan book, and it does talk about the varying shades, one might say, so it's not all softness and light, and neither am I. Do you follow any strict school of witchcraft? As I said, no I don't. I'm not a Wiccan. I'm more of an eclectic reconstructionist, although I tend to follow folk traditions, so I suppose you could call me either a green witch or a hedge witch. I'll bless my friends and curse my enemies. And I have absolutely no fear about that coming to bite me in the arse, because I am a witch worth the salt. What's your opinion of the threefold law? Now personally, I did some research because one of the earlier books I bought was one on Wicca, and it didn't sound quite right. There were a few things in there that very organised religion sort of overtones, which is not my sort of thing at all. And it turns out that Gerald Gardner was very much a patriarchal character, worked in collusion with a lady, Miss Valentine, I believe was her name. And in an interview with Miss Valentine, years after Wicca had kicked off, she admitted that she had absolutely no idea where Gerald came up with this idea of the threefold law, and argued that it sounds like a method of control to prevent underlings and such forth from rising up and against, which also, when you look at the hierarchy, does lend itself to that sometimes. If you follow it, all power to you, but I will not, and I will not be judged for doing so. If you could have any familiar, what animal would you pick? I'm a traditionalist, so I'd probably go with black cats, mainly because bats and ravens do not do well in captivity and are better off to just run about and do their own thing. So if they turn up and hang out, then that's cool, but I'm not going to keep them around. Do you use tarot, runes, or other methods of divination? I have in the past. I don't do it very often because I tend to find that one should control one's own future and not be dictated to. However, there are times in my past when I've been particularly desperate and seeking some form of confidence or guidance, and have resorted to them. I tend to find, if anything, it's a good tool to better understand your own subconscious, especially your own subconscious desires and fears, as you will tend to attribute meaning to whatever pattern you find there. the more complex the spread, obviously, the more complex you'll divine. I've got several different sorts of sets of tarot cards, and some of them I just bought out of curiosity to see what was in the box. But I do, if I use tarot, generally use the red or white deck. It's classic, it's simple to easy to use. I've got cartomancy cards and have made my own runestones as well, and will use the runestones probably slightly more often than the tarot cards. As a bit of a joke, I did also buy a crystal ball. There she is. And it's a nice big chunk of quartz. Really, I just like the various refraction patterns inside the ball. I have meditated with it before, and it is handy for just staring at to try and... What's your favourite witchy quote? Really, anything by Granny Weatherwax in Terry Pratchett's writings is a winner for me, but there is a particular one that I, rereading a book, came across again, which was from the book Carpe Jugulum in the Discworld series, in which she says, "I don't hold with paddling with the occult," said Granny firmly. "Once you start paddling with the occult, you start believing in spirits, and when you start believing in spirits, you start believing in demons. And then before you know where you are, you're believing in gods, and then you're in trouble." "But all of them exist," said Nanny Og. "That's no call to be going around believing in them. It only encourages them." There's another quote that says that, at least as far as Discworld's concerned, witches don't believe in gods, inasmuch as they nod at one another in passing, much as one does with the postman. You've both got jobs to do, and you're both going about your day. And really, when you think about it, it's silly to go believing in the postman. What's your favourite type of spell? Personally, I don't do much spellcraft anymore, anyway. But one particular one I like to do is calling on, amping up and dancing with thunderstorms. I did that at my sister's wedding when we had one. And honestly, it's just fun. I'm certainly not slow to hex someone if they give anyone I care about any sort of trouble. But I think weather magic's got to be one of my more favourite. Have you ever seen a ghost? Possibly. I could just be misremembering, could be a dream, whatever. I could not say definitively one way or another, but arguably with science I would say no. But with magic, maybe. What's your favourite witchy book? My favourite would certainly be the Discworld series, and more especially Weird Sisters. Any of the books with the 3 witches in it is a good book, and I would advise any young aspirant witches out there, go and read them. It has a rather tongue-in-cheek look at the way things are, and will give you a healthy dose of realism, shall we say. What's your favourite witchy movie? Now this is a bit of a toss-up, because I would say my favourite would probably be the made-for-TV movie series Merlin, not to be confused with the god-awful American one. This is the one with Sam Neill, and that's got to be one of my all-time favourite movies, and again, well researched and looks at magic, the tradition of magic, I should say, a bit more closely, and it's a bit less fluffy, which I prefer. The other one, which is more of a movie, would be Practical Magic, just because the semblance to elements of my family is rather close, and it's a feel-good sort of movie, and it's funny. Plus it's got, what's her name? Nicole Kidman with red hair, which is always a plus. Honorable mention also would be to an indie film called Outcast, which again is a lot more of a realistic film take. Someone definitely did their research with that one. And also the series Penny Dreadful. Again, someone did their research and stuck true, rather than glamming it up for Hollywood and changing things around, which is irritating beyond belief when you've grown up with this stuff and people mess around with it. Oh no, we'll do it this way because it's more poetic. That's wrong. Do it properly. Have you ever had trouble from others because of your witchiness? Not much. Generally, if someone sees the pentagram, they think I'm Jewish, and then you explain to them it's missing a point, it's not Jewish, it's a pentagram. But I must say, not really. I have been called an enemy of God on one occasion, whilst at work. So that was interesting. But for the most part, not for my witchiness. Plenty of other things I've had trouble for, but not that. If anything, people tend to be interested nowadays. I get asked a lot of questions, which I'm happy to answer. But generally people are quite well behaved. I don't know whether they're worried that I'm gonna hex them or something, which that's a possibility. Ever hex someone? Yes, flat out, have, absolutely. My sister brought home a unfortunate creature who presented something of a danger to her and my family, so yes, he got hexed a couple of times and then sent bye-bye. I keep war water under my bed specifically for people like him. There's also the black powder, black powder, don't have black powder. Sulfur black candles and iron nails are always a handy thing to have around. And when in doubt, use a smudge stick. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and feel free to do this tag yourself. I will put it on Twitter and Tumblr as per usual, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to hit the like button, it would be much appreciated, and if you feel like answering any of these questions or talking about them, feel free in the comments section below. I look forward to reading anything if you do, because it's always interesting to get other people's opinions. If you're gonna troll me, don't bother. And thanks so much for watching. Links to my Twitter and Tumblr below. Bye!